Hi everybody, it's David Lee of Vital Health, and today I just want to talk about the Vital Health Talk topic, which is success is a journey. It's not a destination. And those of you who are at my club, those of you who've been my clients in the past, have all heard me say this over and over again, that success is a journey, it's not a destination. Now I just want to go into a little bit detail on what the journey consists of, and three aspects that I've discovered that really impact our journey is giving recognition, receiving recognition, and the experience that we have when we're by ourselves on the journey, and how we carry out that experience, how we operate when we are alone in our task and our job, in whatever we do. So the first aspect I wanted to talk about of the journey is giving recognition. Okay, so giving recognition is when we recognize other people for their skills, for their talents. We make them feel encouraged. We applaud their accomplishment. We genuinely praise them for their effort and for what they've accomplished and what they've contributed to society or to us in any way, whatever that may be. I think going to a wedding, right? You're going to a wedding to recognize two people and successfully coming together and making that commitment, right? That's something to celebrate about. That's giving recognition. So we go to their wedding and we recognize them for that achievement. Now, I'll tell you how powerful this is. How powerful this can be when you go with this attitude of recognizing others genuinely from your heart. Not being envious of their success, not being envious of the fact that they have done better than you in something or they're making more money. I remember one of my coaching programs many years ago with Harv Eker. It was an online program where I went through a lot of his CDs and books, and he talked about how our human nature is such that we tend to be jealous. We tend to criticize when people really become successful. Like, he talked about one day where he was watching a TV program and all of a sudden he's seeing Halle Berry, she won an Emmy, and it talked about how she made millions from this movie. And right away in his gut, he reacted by saying, oh, that's way too much money for her to get for that movie. And then he checked himself and he said, you know what, that was a bad reflex reaction on his part. By human nature, we tend to get jealous. We tend to be critical of other people that have succeeded, in amazing ways. And he turned it around and he clapped and he gave her an amazing ovation and blessed her for what she's achieved. And we need to have that same attitude. And I'm realizing when you do that, it all comes back to you in 100 other ways. Give you an example of just this. I supply teach at the schools sometimes, because I used to be a school teacher before I went into the health business many years ago. And when I supply teach at the school, in a lot of cases I teach grade 7 and 8. And it's a sensitive age because they're kind of in between going from childhood, now they're becoming an adolescent. They're kind of that in-between phase where the hormones are hopping, and they're really they're really impressionable at that age. So at the grade 7 classes, I always do this little interesting thing where I'll write on the board, once a week, a coaching concept, a principle, a success principle. And I wrote down one day in my grade 7 class, this particular class that I teach quite a bit actually at one of the schools, and I put down the statement, how you do anything is how you do everything. And I give a prize to the student at the end of the class that gets the closest definition or meaning of what that statement means. And I remember, I had this one kid in the class, can't mention his name, but he was kind of shy. He didn't have the nicest clothes. He didn't really stand out. He was very shy. He was a little bit awkward. He was smaller than everybody else. And I could tell, he kind of was feeling a little down about himself. I could just sense it. And he was just always shy to even express himself and tell me what the answer was on a problem or a question. And something? Many of the students raised their hand and they gave a definition, but it wasn't close at all. Then he politely wrote his answer on a piece of paper and gave it to me. And do you know what? He got the answer almost right on. He was very smart, actually. And, you know, the whole idea, how we do anything is how we do everything, which is a Harbecker concept in his book. It actually means that when you put all your efforts in one task that you do in a given day, it affects the vibration, it affects your focus on everything else. When you do a good job with one task that's in front of you, you become better at everything else. It carries that energy. You know, you just become more accomplished in the long run when you look at everything like that in your life. And he got that. And I was totally impressed by his rendition of that. So I was amazed. So I really praised him. I really thanked him and praised him and recognized him for his achievement that day. And it really made a difference in his character over the coming days when I went back to school and taught him. So that's how powerful giving recognition is. Now, the second thing is to receive recognition. So the second aspect of our journey is we all live to be recognized. We all want to feel significant. We all want to feel like we're contributing something to society, right? So we are contributing something. So we are constantly, we want to feel valued in the sense that we want to know that we're contributing something of our talents, that when we do a job or when we do a skill, or if you're an artist and you paint a picture or you do a good job on your homework, whatever that is, you want to feel like you contributed, that you're recognized for that. And we all need that. And that's part of the journey. Now, I'll tell you something. One of the things that happened to me when I was 17 years old, some of you know my story, many of you don't. I was a high school dropout. And by the time I was 17, going on 18, I just bottomed out. I got tired of working in factories, and I was quite a party animal. I was partying a lot. I was a social user of drugs. I drank a lot. I lived by myself. I didn't have any parents at the time. So it was a very kind of discouraging experience for me, a discouraging situation for me at the time. And I had become very rebellious. I had a lot of anger, a lot of rage. And I went out one night and just did a lot of different drugs with my friends. And one of them was a dealer, so I got it all free. And I ended up taking quite a bit of acid, and I mixed it, and I had drank quite a bit of alcohol. And I had mixed different drugs together, all in a 8 to 10 hour period. And I ended up going through a major hallucination and overdose. I could have died. I mean, it was that bad. And when I came out of that, and I even damaged some property, and the police, you know, had to, they could have charged me, but they just felt sorry for me actually. And I had to go to the hospital, and I had broken glass in my body, and just a lot of stuff that happened. And after that 24-hour period of this incredible experience of negativity, and very dangerous experience, you know, they dropped me off at my house or at my apartment. And I remember I just felt so lost. I felt like there was no hope in my life because I was in a factory job that I felt like was going nowhere. I was barely making it as far as wage was concerned. And something in me rose up. And it was one of the first times in a long time that I actually went on my knees and I did a 3-4 minute prayer. And I asked God to give me something to go after, to give me some hope for my life, because here I was on my own at 17. And, you know, I came from quite a dysfunctional family. So I had always wanted to get into bodybuilding, and I'd work out at the gym, but I wasn't consistent. I would always end up breaking my habits and breaking my commitments to go out and party with my friends. And that would always ruin me for so many weeks. So I wasn't consistent with the training. Finally, I decided I was gonna go for it. And do you know something? I started to work out regularly that year. And out of nowhere, I couldn't even afford equipment. I had friends at the factory that I worked at would actually lend me their equipment. I mean, the universe just opened up for me. And I believe, you know, because I'm a Christian, I believe God just opened the doors for me. And I was able to, you know, get more opportunities. I ended up joining the community center. I started working out at the Civic Center. And within a year, I was up to 315 pounds on the bench press at 170 pounds, 172 pounds, which was, you know, quite a bit of weight. And I was getting into powerlifting. So what that taught me, and that experience did for me, was felt like I was contributing. And I started to inspire other colleagues and other friends of mine because I was working out and I was starting to change my body. And it inspired others to also do it with me. So I was receiving recognition for a talent that I was developing and that I was getting good at. And that's how powerful receiving recognition can be. It encouraged me to move on. And eventually, by the time I was 21, I was competing in local bodybuilding shows, eventually into the provincials. So all I can tell you is receiving recognition is a huge part of the journey. Now, the third aspect of the journey is our isolated experience of the journey. That is the day-to-day tasks or the day-to-day experiences we have when we're by ourselves. You know, when you're doing your job, or when I'm cooking my meal, or when I'm doing groceries, you know, you're by yourself. Even if you're married, you're gonna be, in times, you're gonna be by yourself in the office, you're gonna be going to work, you're gonna be driving. Whatever it is, we are by ourselves a lot. And how do you operate when you're by yourself? You know, when I go jogging, like I did tonight, or this evening, you know, it's beautiful out. I'm trying to just savor every bit of the summer we have left, you know? And the fall colors are starting to come, and it's kind of cool out, so it's perfect for running. And I run near the canal here, and I just take it all in. I was looking at the sunset as I was doing my circuit boot camp training at the end of my, you know, 3 or 4 kilometer run. And I have a certain music that I listen to, you know, my 8-track app. You know, I have certain clothes that I wear. I mean, it's a whole routine that I do, and it's become a part of me the last many, many years. I've lived a lifestyle like this the last 25 years. And I can tell you that I've learned to enjoy my own company. I try to savor and do my best in every task. I try to do my best when I do my run. You know, I keep track of my heart rate. I do my best when I'm doing my circuit training, my floor work, and my burpees and my push-ups. I'm always trying to perfect it and do better. You know, I'm just giving my best. So I want to ask you, what are you doing? And when you do these things when you're by yourself, do you do it with an attitude of gratitude? Do you really do that? Okay. Now, I just want to share one more story with you that really shows you the power of when we're grateful and when we have a dream and when we're going after something and when we have the right attitude in this journey by ourselves. When I worked at General Motors, when I started in my early 20s, or actually I was 19 at the time when I started, 18, 19, and they stuck me on one of the worst jobs. It was called a pit. And it was spot welding in the body shop. And I would have to spot weld with these 75-pound harness guns, you know, that you'd have to fight with. You know, I'd have to grab these guns, these spot welding guns, and I would have to get it under the lip of the car as it was on the chain line. It was an assembly line where the cars are moving. And I'd have about a minute and a half, about 2 minutes. I'd have about 2 minutes to spot weld 22, 23 welds under this car. And what would happen is, because I was below the car, they didn't have asbestos suits for us. I just had an apron, a cotton apron, and my work shirt. And I would sometimes wear extra t-shirts underneath. Because what would happen every hour, sometimes every half hour, sometimes every 20 minutes, never knew when it was going to happen, but it would happen multiple times through every day, where when a spot weld, it would be such hot molten steel, and it would weld that, you know, 1/4 inch of steel so quickly that there'd be melted steel spraying down on my chest as I was spot welding along the lip of the bottom body of the car. And what would happen is hot steel would spray down from the explosion, basically, and hot steel would go through my shirts, and it would burn my chest. I would literally hear and feel my skin burning. It was very painful. And at the first few times this happened, I literally would jump back because of the pain and because of, you know, how it felt. But I couldn't quit because I had low seniority. And if I don't continue on this job, I needed the money. I had left, they hired me, and this was back in 1981, 82, where I was making almost $23 an hour. my job before that, I was only making $7.50. So to be able to make almost $23 an hour, and you're only 19 years old, was big money. And this is back in 81, 82. So you can imagine, I had no family, and my goal was to get into General Motors because I knew that I'd be able to save money to go back to school. That was my goal. And I was just thankful that I had this job, even though the job was creating all kinds of challenges for me. So you know what I do? I thank God, and I'd be thankful for this job, even though my chest was getting burned multiple times a day. In fact, for years, I had literally like 100 spots, like cigarette burns on my chest from these burns. That's how powerful the attitude that you carry can give you the strength to persevere no matter how difficult your situation is. It taught me that. It taught me that. Because I had a dream, and because my attitude was I wasn't gonna quit. They gave me a job and I was not gonna quit. I don't care what they did to me, I was not gonna quit the job. And I wanted to give them my best, no matter how difficult the circumstances was. So in closing, remember, our journey becomes much more enjoyable and worthwhile when we receive recognition, when we give recognition, and when our isolated experience that we have is done with the right attitude, and that we do our best when we do those tasks and the work, and we do it with an attitude of gratitude. So one of the things is you work on the experience when you're by yourself and you're doing your task, where you want to learn how to become more self-aware of your weaknesses and your strengths. And this is why the isolated experience is important. Because when you're by yourself doing things, you start to think about what you're good at and what you're not good at. Are you doing that job well? Are you speaking well to your students when you're in the classroom? Are you handling the managing of your staff better? Are you handling those situations better? Are you a good listener? Are you being maybe a little bit too aggressive with your tone when you talk to your staff or to your colleague? So when you become aware of your strengths and weaknesses and you work on those weaknesses, you can become more successful as a human being. You can become a better friend, a better husband, a better daughter, a better son, a better CEO of the company, ultimately leading to you making a greater positive impact on others. Therefore, you receive that much more recognition for your contribution. So this is Dave Lee of Vital Health. Those who are interested in my coaching and my health and nutrition training, please get a hold of us at vitalhealthlife.com, vitalhealthlife.com. All the information is there. Anyways, everybody have a great evening. And remember, success is a journey, not a destination.